Good morning, everybody. Adam Goodman back here running for City Council, and I appreciate things. I wanted to address the letter sent by city officials, signed by the mayor and the city manager, to the people of Red Deer addressing their standpoint of the dynamic staffing and the why. I want to speak to this from a leadership and a governance perspective as much as an actual policy perspective, because that is really what my background is, and that's what I'm going to bring. Of course, I'll touch on the policy itself as well. When I read this, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I always try to come from a position of grace and look at what are they trying to get across. Right now, they did a decent job of a couple of paragraphs explaining here's what we're up against and here's what this dynamic staffing can do from their viewpoint. Fair. It probably would have been ideal to leave it there, because now when I read this, I've read it and I've talked to many people. I've already had quite a few people reach out to me, and the general consensus is this comes across as almost blaming. It comes across as passive aggressive, borderline gaslighting, and victim mindset. I'll set the actual issue of dynamic staffing and the overtime aside for now. We'll come back to it. When you're a leader, you have to own everything in your world. Extreme ownership is critical. It's a great book too, by the way. I believe it was Leif Babins and Jocko Willink from the Navy SEALs who wrote that. The old adage of crap rolls downhill, that's nonsense. It's absolutely unusable and unworkable in today's leadership doctrine. As a leader and in governance, operations and governance, we are accountable top to bottom for everything that goes wrong. If something happens and there's a mishap in any of the organizations that I run, we walk through a root cause analysis, find out what went wrong, and find out how we fix it. And I'm going to tell you, 99% of the time, it comes down to, procedure or policy not created, not trained, not implemented properly. Ultimately, maybe we weren't watching things correctly, which is where this comes. The statement is there's 30-something million dollars in overtime. Okay, that's a fact. Fine. And the statement then is we came up with this to cut the overtime. Okay, that's a fact. However, that $30 million of overtime that you're identifying as a problem, did that just sneak up on you? I highly doubt it. To me, that's years of letting something happen under your watch. When you're leading big operations, it is difficult. Don't get me wrong. I know I lead big operations. It's hard, but it's supposed to be hard, and that's what you signed up for. You don't get to come across and say, I told you how to fix this after I watched it happen for a decade and I let it go, and then try to tell everybody that, oh, you're not responding the way I want you to, and now by the results of a leadership review, there's hurt feelings. An effective leader, an effective governance member, you take the spears and the arrows and you learn from them. You don't get to tell people, I don't like your opinion of me, so I'm going to try to get a whole bunch of allies as opposed to actually working to build bridges. This does not build bridges. There's no two ways about it. I would never sign something worded like this with this kind of tone. I would have sat down, brought all the stakeholders to the table. Where do we go? Here's where we are. And ultimately, I would have done this years ago before it became a huge problem. Governance and leadership are about monitoring, controlling, making sure that your objectives, your key results, and your key performance indicators are constantly tracked with all the stakeholders. It's a collaborative thing. You can't run a city and hope that you're going to do an effective job and bring everybody along without very, very heavy bias towards collaboration. You go in, you be curious, you be interested, and then when you decide, you be decisive and you execute with the whole team. I will say this again, I would never walk down the path of this tone and this accusatory pathway. You got to get everybody on board. You're a leader. Lead, build bridges. Don't tell people they're wrong because they disagree with you. Find out where they feel that the disagreement exists and get a better path forward. Can dynamic staffing work? Possibly. I know it is in certain places. Can it work when you're trying to make everybody feel like they're at fault when you watched this happen for a decade? Highly unlikely. I really don't think that that's at all going to work. What I would have done, again, a decade ago, started with proper budgetary controls, gone with proper operational execution, and you don't make big changes without bringing all your stakeholders to the table, plan it, give it a timeline, give it a change management structure, and execute in stages, execute in little steps that make people understand that, okay, I do have the best intentions here, and I'm not going to just run off and do it. So, can dynamic staffing work? Possibly. Will it go this way? Highly unlikely. You've got to get the people to understand what you're getting at and why, which I think, honestly, you bring everybody to the table and you're going to have a better option. This is not a professional leadership handling of something like that. And I'm open to hearing from anybody who will, sit on the other side of the discussion, and I will talk ownership, I will talk leadership, and I will talk execution all day. I may have something here that I need to learn. In the interim, voting for me is voting for a much, much more collaborative way of growing and developing our city. I don't think that there's anybody out there that would disagree that we need to do something about a $30 million overtime bill. I don't think anybody with a logical understanding of budgetary processes would disagree with that. However, what is important, but how is far more important. And my experience with leadership, collaborative development, and collaborative execution is really what will help situations just like this. The emergency responders, our emergency services, the frontline people are not to blame. Categorically, the accountability is being shifted in this letter from the people who were overseeing the whole thing to the people who are executing. And that's not how effective leadership and governance works. Thank you very much. I hope that answers my take on it. Again, comment, hit me up, message me. I'm really willing to talk. I want to know what people think of this. Thank you all so much. Red Deer, you're fantastic. I appreciate you.